Just want to give you an update on a telehandler that I was restoring. I had a previous video that I was just getting started on it, and I'm kind of about halfway done now. And also I wanted to show you a grinder that I got from Harbor Freight for like 10 bucks. It's a cut-off saw and it's a grinder, and I'm just really impressed with it. So if you go to Harbor Freight, man, I would definitely pick you up one, especially if they're on sale. So let's go ahead and get to the video here of the overview, and let me show you what I've done so far. And also I had to do a few other repairs that I found once I started taking it apart. But one thing we did this past weekend, my dad came up and we got this new battery box, and actually has a lid that goes on top. I put that somewhere. But and I got new battery cables and everything too for it. But I had to add, since it's so wide, I had to add a piece of angle right here to extend it out some, so it'll be a little bit sturdier. And I'm gonna bolt it to it. And then I have a ground hole, so I'm gonna put a ground wire there, and I'll have another wire going through here, going under there to a battery cutoff switch. And they will connect those two batteries together. Like it says battery here that I'm still cleaning this area. You can see where I'm kind of doing some grinding and cleaning and getting ready to do some priming, that red oxide primer. But I want to show you one thing. We had some problems. This has four-wheel steering on it, and we had some issues with it when when it had the steering, it kind of got caught sometimes. It wouldn't go straight. And we found that this area here, where the ball joint, that it was basically real loose in here, which was causing this hub to move back and forth, and wasn't very stable. So what we had to do is clean the actual tapered area of the ball joint, and then we took some copper, like thin sheet plate type stuff that we wrapped around the spindle. And then we put it into the socket there, and then we put a couple washers, and then bolted it, nutted it in, and got it pretty strong, so it's not moving around like it was. Also, I put a new wiring harness in here, and I'll show you in a little bit the wiring harness we took out, which, it was all kinds of chafed wires, and a lot of wires that were kind of going to ground, it looked like, and that's probably why our problem was with the the battery wouldn't stay charged. And also I put a new wiring harness onto the reverse and forward solenoids there, and this wiring harness, actually I have like 4 more wires that I have extra that I will probably use one of them for the tack. I bought a tack for this. This didn't have a tack, and so we know the RPMs that it's going. So, but I did have to buy a new alternator. I took the one off that was here, and they tested it out, and it wasn't doing any charge. It wasn't charging. And to come to find out, after taking it apart, the brushes were not even touching the commutator inside there, causing it to charge. So it wasn't even working. So that's why we had a lot of, the batteries were always dead on the unit. So I put a new alternator in, and put some new wiring harness here, new water sensing wire for the water temperature, and then also, like I said, I got new starter wiring and things like that. Put with the wire loom here going across to the other side, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, basically did that, and then I still got some more work to do here, but I've been kind of cleaning it up and putting some of that red oxide primer on there just to kind of keep it so it won't have any rust forming once you get it ready. And then here is where we welded. We had some holes right here where they had some headlights, and we basically just welded it, and I ground it down to right in here just to get it flat. And then I want to put some more primer on there, and then hopefully it'll be good. And and then over here we let's say I got new. We had some on. I went ahead and made some new plates, and I'm actually going to put gauges on here instead of lights. It used to have lights on it for like your water temperature and your voltage. And I'm gonna put gauges on there now. That because we used to have these here. I mean, these are old type plates there that I basically took out, and they had lights in there that basically gave you indicating that it was too hot, or so I'm just redoing all of that. And then the doggies came outside here, but yeah, so I got that, and also have a lot of the wiring down here that I've been working. I got the glow plug where you start the glow plugs at switch there, and then have the ignition switch. And then this is the this is a hydraulic selector switch to basically go into crawl, so it has four-wheel steering or go straight. So this was actually slipping also, so we went in and took this apart and rebuilt it, put new O-rings in there. And then also this is the high and low switch here that allows it to go transmission, the hydraulic fluid to go fast or slow, the whole unit. And then this wire here, I was trying to find out where this goes to the power, which I think they put that in temporary. So I want to get rid of that and put it into our fuse box, which I redid this also. Right in here, I put some new wiring coming straight from the battery switch here, and then I got another couple wires going to the ignition switch. So they had some wiring here that was kind of messed up, and it was questionable. It wasn't making very good contact, and so I'm thinking that's why the fellow they ran a temporary power line with a fuse in it. So we're going to try to get rid of that too. So and there was an awful lot of other wires down in here that were just kind of chafed up, and I'll show you the bundle of wires that I took out of here in a few minutes. But and then on this side I have the old pressure switch, and then here's the fuel cutoff solenoid right there. And like I said, that's all brand new wiring there. And also, a good thing to do is when you change the oil is to write the hours and also the date on your filters. So then you'll know, you have a logbook too that you put it in, but it's good to have, for the record, so you can just pull the hood up and you can look in and say, oh, yeah, I need to change the oil. It makes it easier for you to do that. And then, and this engine is actually a 4-cylinder Caterpillar diesel. And it's got a 3034 is the model number, and it's hooked up to this hydraulic pump here. And then also I'm trying to the throttle cable. I think in one of the videos I had before, it was kind of acting up and sticking, and I'm going to start taking that apart. And actually, right there is where it was rusted real bad, and it was sticking in there. So and it's connected, through your throttle symbol here, which we put a new spring. We put a spring on it right there. But I think it was just causing that rust inside there was causing it not to react like it should. It should spring back pretty good, but it didn't. So I bought another throttle cable here that you can we'll put on there. And but let me show you. Let me show you the wiring harness and also the attachment that goes with it, and I'll show that to you before we get into the grinder and show you all the details of that. And like I say, I recommend you getting one of those. But this is all the wiring here that I took out of the telehandler, and you can see some of this wiring is really chafed up bad. I mean, you can, it's like see, I got some pieces here that are really rubbing. You can see it's kind of, you can actually see copper wiring. The insulation came off of it, right in here. It's chafed pretty bad. So but the wiring is really brittle and old, and it was just, I think it was getting too hot. But I went ahead and replaced all that, and all the plugs and stuff. I mean, they were really, I mean, you could tell they're all, man, they were nasty, and they needed to be, changed out. And really, those plugs are nice, but they're not really practical, on something like this. It's not that big, and just go ahead and just run a full wire from where it goes to where it needs to go, to point to point, instead of having a plug. Is the best way to do that. And then here's the fork attachment that goes to it, and you can tell. See, that's where the the skid steer pins go in on either side. It locks in, and then under here is where the right in here is where it locks on the top part. So I was going to clean that up and paint that also. But that's your the fork attachment that goes with it. And I'm going to paint that up, clean it up. It's nice. It's adjustable, and you can adjust it how wide you want it. But let me go back over here to where the grinding was, and I'll show you where. Let's see here. All right. All right, let me put you on. I got a pedestal, I got a tripod here, and kind of put it like where it was at. Another thing we did, I was doing some metal work today, and we actually welded this bumper. This bumper on the front of it, and then we welded this so we can chain stuff to it and put straps on it, and I mean, it's solid, so I welded all that to the frame of the machine. And just now, and then it was a little bit too long because the tires, they basically are pretty wide. So I had to cut. This is a 4x2 piece of steel, and I ain't kidding you, man. The Harbor Freight grinder, I was able to use a cutting. Let's see here. Use a cutting wheel. This here is basically a cut off wheel, and use that. And that it took about 30 minutes for each side to do, but it cut right through it. Let me put this down real fast, and then okay, and then let me get my gloves on and my face shield, and I'll show you. This grinder is it's a drill. Let's see, it's a Drill Master. See there, it says Drill Master, and it's a 4.5-inch angle grinder, 11,000 RPMs, and like I say, I only paid $10 for this grinder. I mean, it's awesome. And right now, I mean, it's dangerous. I took the shield off just so I could get in here better. Some of that shield, you couldn't really get in here too well. So I have my gloves on, and then you kind of be very, very careful if you're grinding. I definitely don't recommend it. But sometimes, when you're grinding in a tight spot here, that shield kind of gets in the way a little bit. So you just got to be careful. Be very, very careful with it. But you can tell this is that piece of metal, the other piece that I cut off, and it cut it perfectly. See how smooth it is? And I just have to do a little bit of touch-up grinding on it just to kind of get the edges on the sides and all that kind of down, so you won't cut yourself or anything. But that's a big piece of steel, thick piece of steel. So I got my welding shield here, and I'll put that on, and then nice. So that looks good. So now it's not sharp edges or anything. So I'm going to put some Rust-Oleum, maybe some red oxide paint on there, and it should be good to go. But I just wanted to show you that real quick. And like I say, if you're at Harbor Freight, I definitely recommend getting the grinder and also some cutting wheels. And also I have this is really good too. This is a flat disc, and it's 4.5 inches. It's actually made for that grinder, 36 grit, and it has these sanding pads on it, and this actually is for like if you're doing some body work with Bondo or something, you get down to the finished part, you can kind of get it knocked down pretty good before you use your 100 grit sandpaper or 220, whatever you're using to get it finished. But on something like this with that red oxide primer, you kind of want to do a step at a time and get that primer in there, and that primer actually fills in a lot of your voids and everything in the material. So, but I do appreciate you taking a look at the video, and this is like an update of the Telehandler, and I'll have another, finished video when it's complete. But this is about 2 weeks into it, so it's just taking some time, to get everything done and get it clean and degreased, and also I changed all the drive oil in it. I changed the gear oil in the differentials and in the hubs, so that's all changed. And like I say, just really doing it. Once you get into something like this, a lot of times you have other problems too that you're trying to fix and solve. So that's kind of what I'm doing, and lucky to have a nice garage to be able to put this in here and be able to work on it. But thanks again, and please subscribe to my channel. And I have a lot of videos on heavy equipment and the house. And like I say, start building a house, doing some land clearing, and getting stuff done now. So thanks again, and I appreciate your support. Bye-bye.